Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Nicole Bedard. She's a brand photographer, video storyteller, and educator specializing in visual storytelling for makers, artists, and creative business owners. Through photography, video, and social media strategy, she helps businesses showcase the craftsmanship and stories behind their work in a way that builds connection and visibility online. I had the pleasure of taking two courses with Nicole at IWCE earlier this year, and I just was so excited by what I learned from her. I've also purchased a course from her. And I had her on as a presenter for Circle Time for the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, partly because she was so generous with information for those of us who are running creative businesses on how to connect with our social media audiences and how important it is for us to show up in the photography. And that was just the surface of what I learned from her. But she also gets into the nitty gritty and about what questions to ask AI so that you can get posts pulled together, how to use Canva to use it. She just really has a lot to share. And I wanted to learn more about her story. So I hope that you enjoy hearing from Nicole today. Good morning, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So as I've explained to my listeners in the introduction, I had the opportunity to take two classes from you at IWCE, and then you did a fabulous Circle Time for the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library. But I realized as I've been following you on social media that I wanted to know a little bit more about your background. And I really want for anyone who's listening, who's not a member of the library, who has not had a chance to watch that webinar, that you are teaching so many different things to creative people, but that's not how you got started.
No.
So I'm thrilled that you are teaching us those things, but I want to hear a little bit more about the background. So if you can start by introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about your life, where you live, and what kind of business do you have?
Amazing. Well, thank you. I appreciate you following along and all your support along the way. Had the best time with Circle Time and at IWCE. Yes, so I am Connecticut based. My mission is to help makers, artists, designers show up authentically online. And I do so through strategic photography, video storytelling, and strategy so that they can find aligned clients that understand and appreciate their craft and will invest. And that's my photo video company, essentially. Okay. So Nicole Bedard Photo Video is what I go with because it's very straightforward and people understand what I'm offering right out of the gate. So that's where I am now, but I started in a more traditional path by going to undergrad for like leadership and consumer economics and then going into graduate school. But I always had this pull to work with creatives, be in a creative industry. And my first pivot was going to the Rhode Island School of Design for interior design. Okay. And that experience really, I attribute to like a creative unlock of like understanding and seeing this whole new world, because I was in such a traditional path that being there and going through that program really opened my eyes to that creative side of me even more. So I wanted to lean into that more. Then life happens, and I ended up moving down to the DC area and had to lean on my more traditional background for employment, but I still had this pull for a creative journey. Mm-hmm. And after walking by a photography program, it was Boston University. They had a satellite campus in DC. I walked by for a year, contemplating, do I do this? I had always had a camera in my hand growing up. I always loved just documenting life. And so I went for it after going to a information session, and this was my pivot number 2. And while working full time in the government, which was non-creative, I started the photography program and never looked back. But a lot of my employment thus far was in consulting, working with individuals, teaching them. One of my careers was worked for a software company where I would travel and train nursing staff on the new upcoming software for going from paperless. I'm really going to date myself. Going from a paperless patient file to an electronic patient file, and to a crowd that really didn't want to learn the software, but no, they needed to anyway. So it's a very similar feeling to when people have a feeling about social media. They know they need to do it. They really don't want to, but they're reluctantly learning along the way. So I'm pulling a lot of those moments and skills and experiences to today, because I've always had this string of teaching, working with others, breaking things down, and that communication along the way.
Okay. So it's so interesting because I have a younger sister who I remember going through this exact process as a nurse, going from paper charts to paperless.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed about you, Nicole, is that you have an ability to grasp what people are dealing with and understanding it. Like I was teasing during circle time, you have grasped the window treatment industry in a way that just blows my mind when you can say things like pattern matching and pulling a thread. And I'm like, does she have a side business I don't know about? But just in you talking about the nurses, you have this empathy where you can understand what's stopping people from doing what, as you said, we know we're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
So I love that you're able to look back at your previous employment and careers and say, oh, this is how it all tied together, because you're not just photographing, you are doing that, but you are then also sharing with people how to use the content that they're creating.
Yes, because
and they don't want to.
Right. Because I just don't want it to sit on your laptop, or maybe you update the website and then it stops there.
Yeah.
I want you to leverage this content so you can build your business and it can work as hard as you do, because that's where I almost view it as currency. Like, use it as an asset in your business to build more business. And because with brand photography, the visuals, whether it's photo or video for me, everything has intention and purpose behind it. We're just not randomly coming in one day, or I'm not coming in one day and we're just like, what should we capture today? Everything is planned out with some wiggle room for things that just happen authentically, which I love, those in-between moments. But that intention and purpose is a big deal for me in my business in brand photography and video storytelling. That's the key.
Okay. So I noticed you had done a post about what your background was, even in photography. And I have to admit, I was a little startled when I saw it was sports photography.
Yes.
So how did you get into that?
So at the time when I started my photography program, I was really into fitness. And I was, when you aren't married and don't have kids yet, you have all this extra time, I find. And I was really, my boyfriend, now husband, and I were really into fitness and specifically CrossFit. And that was my first big commercial job, was with them on the HQ level. So I traveled out to one of their regional events, which was in Ohio. I was in Virginia, and was the photographer for that event. And I loved it. And I was working the gym, or boxes they're called. I was honing my skill in my own gym. And so when I wasn't working out, I was coming back and trying to develop my eye and my own skills for the fitness. But it really is interesting how that skill set of watching someone in a movement
Yeah.
transfers to when I'm working with an artist or a maker or a designer, because I want that authentic feeling of them in their process, in their creative flow. And I'm doing the same thing as I was in sports. I am timing, I am trying to get down someone's rhythm, and I'm
Right.
capturing like along the way. It's like a dance when I'm like in their zone too, when I'm with someone in their studio.
So I have to say I'm torn between what my favorite thing to see of your work is. I love seeing how you photograph, whether they're artists whose medium is paint or fabric, or you're in someone's workroom. I love looking at that, but I also love the videos and shots you take of yourself working with them. Because it's just, again, it's fun to see the process
Yeah.
and how you arrive at it. And I've also noticed that the people whose social media I admire are the ones who are clearly just leaving the camera on for long periods of time, or just, as you said, documenting life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be hours and hours of things, but as you said, that rhythm and that dance. And on a recent meeting in the library, we were talking about trying to document our processes. And I said, just turn your camera on and
Yeah.
just photograph, video yourself doing everything you're doing. And then you can look at it and say, oh, I did this first. I did this first. So I feel like, our phones have become innocuous in some ways. I've been at events where every 5 seconds somebody's picking up a phone. Let's take a picture. And I'm like, let's not. And then there are other times when I've gone to look for something like, I don't have a recent picture of my daughters,
Mm,
or I don't have a recent picture of my husband and I together. And it's just, when you said earlier, I always like documenting life, I thought, you're so smart, because it does get away from us. And it's not that hard to do when we have a camera in our pockets all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, if someone is in the finally embracing social media and trying to capture content, they're so exhausted capturing content that they might be like, I'm not taking any more pictures today, or
Exactly.
like someone else can do that. But
Yes.
I am always the one, if I'm present, people are like, okay, we're covered. Nicole
Yeah.
can do it. And I'm like, okay. And I'll have albums ready, delivered, like
Yeah.
sent over, Dropbox, airdrop. Everyone's covered.
So what was your first professional shoot? Was that with the CrossFit?
Yes, that
Okay.
was my first big time.
Okay. And how did that feel?
I was so excited. It was like I was on the road. My boyfriend, now husband, and I, we decided let's just drive. So we drove from Virginia to Ohio, and like they paid for the hotel, and I got paid for the job. And looking back, it's like, I mean, when you get the first job, like that's significant in terms of money and sort of adventure too,
Mm.
which I loved. It was exhilarating, and
Yeah.
that just started the domino effect.
Okay. So I'm curious because I think that as you said, your prior experiences have really fit into this. Many of us in this industry, as well as the other creative industries you deal with, have not done well with the business end of things.
Mm.
And as you said, you were so excited. They paid for the hotel. They paid you. Like
Yeah,
we're like so happy somebody's going to give us money for this. It's like,
yeah,
was it enough money? What, like, did you get paid, or
yeah,
did you learn a lesson from it? Like, oh, this was exhilarating, but I also still need to pay my mortgage. Like,
yeah.
how did you lean into the business end of things?
So when I start off, which I think many creatives probably do this as well, is I still maintained my 9 to 5 job
Okay.
while I was building up the photography end of things. So I recall in the beginning, I was like, I want to have 4 paying jobs per month while I'm doing this.
Okay.
And it did not have to be a crazy amount of money. It was just the get something for just to build up my eye and the creativity and the photography portfolio. And for photography, you have to, and I always recommend this for anyone starting out, you have to try almost every niche of photography to figure out what you will like the most.
Okay.
And being in photography school, you're forced to do kind of every category and then you can really figure it out. But then to work with people is a whole different ballgame when you're working with an actual customer. So one of my firsts was a new mom, and I would take portraits of her, then baby, then toddler, and I would just do sort of like family photography of portraits because a lot of it is you're working with people, all different types of people.
Right.
So that was just like a bonus. My real currency I was getting was the experience.
Okay.
And I feel like if someone's paying at least something, they now have some buy-in and some investment in it.
Yeah.
Now, if I did not have that 9-to-5 job, I would not have survived because the rates were so low. But once I left that 9-to-5, then it was, okay, I built this up. How do I make it bigger? And I also, when I left the 9-to-5, we were moving up to where I am now in Connecticut.
Okay.
So now I had to I had some contracts with CrossFit and then Reebok, but I knew that wasn't going to be enough or sustainable, or now I'm in a whole new market. So not only did I have to start off full time, but now I needed to build in a whole new market. So it did take a long time, and it's always a process. It's always evolving.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there have been a number of people that I've interviewed for the podcast who have window treatment businesses who have also moved.
Yeah.
And as you said, starting all over again, and it's a different market. And are these people who value custom window treatments, or are they looking for a bargain? Like you just don't know what you're walking into. And I'm noticing a comparison as well that there are very different markets within the photography. And there's newborn, but there's also family. And then there's wedding, which is another whole, I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not. My husband started out his career as a photographer, and he did a couple of weddings and said, nope, I can't do that.
Nope.
He said, you get one chance.
Yeah.
He said, if you blow it, they have no memory. No, they have no visual memories of their wedding. And he's like,
high pressure.
I am not going to be responsible for that. And yet
I'm with them.
Who did it for like 50 years and loved it. So it's just, I think that comparison to what we do with our window treatment, there are people like, I'm not doing cushions. I hate doing cushions. And then there are people like, I am not doing 12-foot long drapes. I love doing cushions. And I love that we can do that.
Yes. No, it helps with that clarity. So then this is your specialty. This is what you love to do. And when it comes to like social media, that's something you want to get across because this is why you're in business. That's a great story that someone could be telling, like, I tried or I did X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
That experience led me to loving and being passionate about cushions, so it's like people would love to know because they might be thinking of you for another project, but realize, oh, wait, she's the cushion person. When I have the cushions, that's who I need to be going to.
Exactly. So I'm curious, because those of us in this industry struggled to get started and learn and everything. Yeah. Did you ever consider quitting?
No. I've never considered. I always just evolved in a different way. Like I always tested. So I was in sports, and then I knew at the tail end of that, I had my son.
Okay.
And at the same time, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So well, she was diagnosed prior to having my son. So I knew once I had him and the contracts for the sports stuff was going to run out, I knew I wanted to stay local.
Mm-hmm.
So then once I did have my son, and then unfortunately my mom passed a month later, there was that period of time where, I mean, honestly, 2 weeks after my mom passed, I was back out on the road because of the contracts that I already had set up. So there was a lot going on that year that I was like all figuring out, like to be a mom and then to be, on the road.
Mom
but
without
then,
your mom.
trying to figure it all out. And I wanted to be more local. So I had to figure out what was the local piece. Cause I did work with like local gyms and stuff, but, so that's when another little pivot happened when my son was getting to the stage where he could have solid foods. I started making things for him, and we would go out on these little adventures to like a strawberry field or like blueberry picking. But then I'd come home and we'd make stuff, and my mom gave me my like kitchen confidence. She taught me how to bake. She had the signature chocolate chip cookie. So anytime I'd make the cookies, she was still in the conversation.
Right.
So when I started looking for recipes to make with him, there were kid-centric blogs, but it was just the final result. I wanted to see the process, and no one was actually making the items with the children.
Okay.
So I started this whole blog called Make and Taste, and it was him and I. You wouldn't see him. It was all like top down and like tight shots. Right. But my goal was to show the process of making the recipes with your child, and then they would understand where the food comes from, how to make stuff, and build their, when they're young. He was in a Montessori program at the time. This is really going into the weeds, but it was all about building hand strength and dexterity, and cooking was a great way to do that. So it snowballed into this whole thing. I had this whole massive blog, and it caught the eyes of Food Network, and I ended up going down for a meeting and meeting with a producer. But really, that whole experience taught me was, one, I started working with brands for the products, like the houseware products. So I started that kind of commercial end of it. I loved the process, which kind of is a whole through point of this too. But then that producer asked me, "Oh, are you planning on doing video too?" And I never thought of video. I was a photographer.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, yes, I'm looking into that." In my mind, I'm like, what?
This is why you understand our industry so well. Can you make this? Of course I can. In the background, no idea how to do that.
Exactly. So at that time back then, tasty style videos were all the rage, where it was like the top down, like all the ingredients, people are mixing, all that stuff. So that's what I did. And so that's when I started learning video for that blog. And then once we kind of phased out of like him not wanting to bake all these things and stuff like that, I was at the same time kind of building up local businesses and local that type of work for working with other businesses.
Okay.
And that's where that kind of fell into. But I feel like that whole experience led me to working with other businesses and building and showcasing all their amazing crafts and skills as well.
Oh, that is so fascinating. It's funny. I remember reading that you said someone asked me if I did video, and I just said yes. I didn't realize it was related to this food making blog. I don't think I knew that about you. That's fascinating. So I really am always fascinated by the threads, no pun intended, that like bring us into different things, and the things in our lives that matter later on and that we learn from certain situations. But I love that it started out as something to do with your son
Yeah.
and just evolved from there.
Yeah. Just keeping my mom's memory alive, doing something as she taught me. We could talk about, I mean, he was like really little, like preschool, like toddler to preschool. And like we kept going. Yeah. And then it just has taken off.
I love that. So I often ask people, if you weren't doing this as a career, what would you be doing?
Mm. So, it's so hard to answer that because I've always captured photos and some even back in high
Right,
school
right,
that I know when I was a child, I wanted to be an architect, but I don't think that would have landed.
right.
I know I'd be helping others, whether it's if I was working in a traditional job in like HR, or that's kind of like when I was in college, that was a path, that
Right.
was a consideration, but working as a consultant in some manner, helping people solve whatever problem
Okay.
if photography wasn't available. I'm not sure what it's
No, I
so
think,
embedded in me that I
yeah,
don't know.
well, and I think that's a sign that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
That's true. Yes.
From your perspective, Nicole, there are a lot of things about our businesses that have similarities, but there's a lot that's different about your business and what you've created. What have been some of the biggest challenges of your business?
The biggest, which took me probably a good decade, was saying no to
Yeah.
potential clients, especially if it's a industry where there's going to be great months and slower months
Right.
and really struggling with understand maybe you're not the best fit for. It's not even like, yes, you can do it, but should you be doing it? And
Just
some
because you can doesn't mean you should. It's my life
exactly.
mantra.
Yes, and it's such a struggle and took me so long, but when I first said no, I felt so powerful. I was like, okay, like that was not meant for me.
Okay.
And some no's are easier because you know you're just not the fit. It might be not your expertise, or they want something at another level that you might not be at yet.
Mhm.
And you can say, you know, thank you for considering me. However, I think you're better suited for this person, or, you know, you can kind of recommend. And people appreciate that. If someone's
We
going to
do.
invest
Yeah.
some money, like they want the best outcome possible. So if
Right.
I'm not the best fit, then I feel more comfortable saying no. But some of them, it's like, yes, I could do this, but I really don't want to.
Yeah. And there is, I think we've all been, especially when you're an entrepreneur, like saying yes to everything.
Ah,
And I don't really think that's always the case, but I think there's that sense of relief when you,
mm,
and you know you've done the right thing when you say, I don't
yes.
think that we're a good fit, or I don't think I'm a good fit for what you need. And being able to say, oh, but I know someone who can help
Yeah.
you. But there have been, when I made the decision to go from doing retail work to trade only, I still remember the moment backing out of one of my clients' driveways. I had finished a job with her and she's all ready to start the next one. And I had the conversation with her and I said, I'm only going to be working with interior designers going forward. I'm happy to introduce you to some of my designers. Um, this particular client was part of my decision to stop working directly with retail clients. Nicole, I felt 15 pounds lighter when I got
Oh,
to the end of her driveway. I'm like, I
yeah.
don't ever have to do that
Yeah.
again.
Yes.
So you know when it's right, but it
Yes.
is, there are times when saying no is absolutely the right thing to do.
Yes. Because that feeling when you say yes in that pit in your stomach, that
Yeah.
dread of the buildup of like, let me just get this project
Yeah.
over with. And it happens still, but
Yeah, of course. Of course.
it's a struggle.
It is. So I'm curious about what is your definition of success?
My definition is around the amount of creative abundance I can experience with a project. And if I can provide a new perspective to someone's creative business, that's always like a great success for me, because I feel like they're not hiring me for my camera. It's like they're hiring me for my eye, my creative direction. So if I can align with a client that we can elevate both of us essentially, like with their work and my work, like that's a success for me for today anyways. Who knows
Right,
where it
right.
is
I
10
love
years from
that.
now.
And I never get the same answer twice. And I have interviewed people multiple times, and their definition has sometimes changed. So I
Yep.
think that's, for
Yeah.
now, that's
Yes. Yep.
it's interesting because I think while the definition is not always the same, I hear people say that moment where the client walks into the room and they see what they
Mm,
envisioned, or it's better
yes.
than what they envisioned.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, I was having a conversation with a designer yesterday, and we're finishing up a job with a client who's not especially easy to deal with on many levels. And she's ready to be done.
Yep.
And she picked up some things from me, and I said, I'm happy with how they turned out. She said, I'm just happy they're done. And she said, that is not my favorite feeling.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah, I get that. But
yes.
99% of the time, when I'm walking into a client's home with finished product, I'm so excited for them to see it and so
Uh,
happy for them.
yep.
And you have that same
Yes.
experience with
Yes.
people.
I love showing, like during my process of a session, I am showing them in real time images coming through, like on my iPad. And so
Yeah.
I'm getting that response, which is amazing. And it makes for a better experience overall, because the anxiety can reduce
Yes,
and they can be like, okay, we're getting amazing stuff. And like it makes a better experience. But it's also, I cannot get back to my computer fast enough and start diving in, because I'm so excited about the content and I want them to start using it as soon as possible, because the world
right.
needs to see it and it needs to start working for them just as hard as they're working for themselves. And so then to get the response of them loving the content as well is amazing.
Right.
But I am so excited, just like you're so excited to show the new drapes or the cushions and the
Right.
pillows and the lampshades. And it's like, I cannot wait for them to have this new visual for their
Okay.
business. Yeah.
Do you think it makes a difference for people? You said the anxiety of it. People don't
Mm,
really like to have their pictures taken.
no
And
one.
and I know that you're doing brand photography, and who we are is part of that. But you're also not just sitting people down and taking a headshot. You are
Right.
taking pictures of their photographs of their hands and the work that they're doing. And sometimes your visuals include them almost as a background, and it's really more about what they're doing. Do you think that showing them as you're proceeding is helping them? Okay, all right, good. It doesn't
Yep.
matter what my hair looks like, or oh
Yep.
good, like I look better than I thought. Is that
Yes.
is that why you do it?
Well, I always view it as it's a collaboration.
Hmm.
So, one, if they can see the result, because I always try to do portraits, environmental portraits in
Hmm.
someone's authentic space first thing, because everyone is so worried about the portrait and what they're going to look like and what the
Right.
outfit is and all that stuff, that I like to just get that done first. And normally when I do that, first I always set it up. I say, let's do the portrait first. And they're like, thank God, yes, let's get that out of the
Let's
way.
get it done.
And then during that process, I'm showing them, because one, I want them to love their image and feel confident enough to show it on social media and on their website. So I want their buy-in. If they don't like the top that they have on and they brought other tops, we can do a switch out.
Okay.
If we see something in the background that they don't like or seems strange, we can remove it, take in a couple more shots.
Okay.
Then they feel like they are part of the photo shoot,
Oh, brilliant.
instead of being on display and having pictures taken of them. It's a totally different experience when they feel like they have buy-in and we can take a couple more shots. We can try the hair this way. We can try the hair that way, because I want them to love the images. And I
Right.
do get the, wow, I don't like any pictures of myself. I like that one. And I'm like,
It's
nothing
because
is
I'm such a fabulous photographer.
nothing is better. As you're saying of the success sale, nothing is
Yeah.
better when they're like, I hate every picture ever taken of me on the planet. I like this one. I win. It's like amazing. It's like, yes. So when people come to me, everyone tells me I don't like having my picture taken. Sometimes I say, you're in good hands. And they've never had pictures taken by me before. We're going to do something. We're doing something different today. And so it the feedback I get is, I don't know if I could have a photo shoot again without the iPad. Like, they love
Right.
seeing it. And then once we move into the process and they get into their creative flow, they forget sometimes
Yeah.
that the camera's there. And those are the best images. And I try to sneak in some other portraits along the way when they're in this more comfortable state.
Right.
So yes, I'm getting tighter shots and they're like, oh, good. Like, I don't have to be like smiling and looking to
I
the
can
camera.
be myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom Channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klamaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klamaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klamaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klamaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to klamakastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klamaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms.
All right. So we talked about the reason my husband is not a wedding photographer, because mistakes happen. What happens when you have a mistake or a failure? And I don't mean specifically a bad photo shoot, but like sometimes you accept a job that maybe you shouldn't, or it's not a good fit. Like, how do you handle failure in your business and your life?
I always say photographers are also problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen a lot in the past 15 plus years of like, that lens didn't make it in the bag. That lens would have really been good here. And like, you have to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And, or, like the lighting conditions aren't great. And so you have to make it work. So I'm always problem solving for photography and video altogether. But for jobs that I just didn't, fill my cup or feel as creative as they could have been, I know I just have to deliver what they needed
Okay.
and then learn from that. In
Right.
early days, I used to almost do like after action, like debriefs of like what worked, what didn't work,
Right.
and what I will not do again, and what I will now always pack in my bag, no
Right.
matter what. No, like the iPad is always coming with me. It's kind of,
Right.
like I will bring double batteries. I will bring another set of memory cards just in case,
Yes.
because you just never know and you don't want to run into those major failures. So
Mm-hmm.
preparation and having like, see the warning signs. There may be
Right.
like, oh, if that happened, that would have really been bad. I need to prep better for whatever it
Right.
was.
Right.
So, yeah, it's hard. Those hard lessons stay with you for a while. But if you can kind of see like the warning sign for like, this will never happen the next time, that's
Right.
learn the lesson first, because it will only get worse.
Yes. I have tried unsuccessfully to try to make multiple mistakes before I learn from them.
Yes.
It does not do me any good.
Yeah. Learn it the first time.
Yeah, so there was a short period of time where I was working with my uncle who was a wedding photographer, and he taught me certain processes and then would set things up to make sure that if I didn't do those processes, I would make a mistake. And it sounds
Really?
nasty, but it was not. So one of the things was bouncing the flash.
Mm.
And with our phones, most of us don't know what that means, but he would have like a piece of white cardboard over the flash, and he would tell
Yep.
me, check before you step into the aisle to make sure that that's tilted. And there was something else about the camera. I can't remember because it's been so long since I've held this kind of camera. But if you didn't take the shot and then wind, I think. So
Oh,
I'm really
okay.
dating
Going to
myself.
film.
Yes. He would do something to the camera that if I didn't check before I stepped into the aisle, I would not be able to take the picture. What he
Oh.
was also teaching me was to not react if I
Mm.
didn't get the shot.
Yeah.
And he would be right in the pew, right behind me, stepping out and capturing
Giggling.
that shot. But I think it happened to me 3 times, and then it never happened again.
Yep.
I also stopped doing it because it was way too stressful.
Yeah. You always have to have the couple backups.
Yes, could be the couple times I stepped into the aisle and didn't get the shot and just could not
Mm.
take the pressure of that.
No.
But yes, extra batteries, extra film, extra
Yeah.
everything. And we do that in our window treatment businesses. I don't go to an install without thread that matches the color of the drapes or the window treatment that I made,
Yep.
extra everything in my car. I may never even
Yeah.
take it out of my car.
Right. Right.
If I need it, it's there.
Because of that one lesson where you didn't have it or it didn't make it in the bag. And you're like, okay, now
Yeah.
that's why I prep everything the day before. I have everything organized, packed the day before. I've seen some photographers where they're packing the day of or like the hour before. I'm like, oh no, you're opening yourself up to forgetting something or not
Because
charged.
life gets in the way. It just
Yes.
happens. Your son
Yep.
could be sick that morning, and instead of packing your bag, you're helping him. Like
Yep.
that just happens. So Nicole, I always love to ask my guests about books. Are you a book
Yep.
reader? Okay.
Really, I'm an audiobook reader
Okay.
because with
Still
my
reading. Still reading.
when I'm driving to different jobs, or if I'm in the school pickup line when I was doing that,
Yeah.
that was my either podcast or books.
Okay.
So the most recent one was The Big Leap. I heard someone recommend it. It's all about mindset, and most of us maybe are in our zone of excellence, but really we want to get into our zone of genius and taking that leap of the zone of genius, which when we're talking about taking the job because yes, you could do it, that's that zone of excellence.
Right.
But okay. I was thinking of like, where is this book? This book, Creative Calling.
By Chase Jarvis. I'm not familiar with that.
So he was a professional photographer. And when I was during that phase after my mom passed and I was doing the blog and figuring out like the next move, I came upon his podcast, and it was finally the first time I was listening to another photographer talking about all the trials and tribulations and like how to move forward. And the main message in that book is to take action. That momentum will help you guide you to the next move.
Okay.
And so that was really helpful. That book is great for any creative.
Okay.
At any phase, whether you're, just graduated high school and going into art design school, that's a great book. All the way to if you're thinking of new creative ideas, it really helped me to when opportunities came my way, to instead of maybe shutting them down, to be more open and say yes and maybe see like, okay, where is this one going to lead?
Okay.
And it was a great book for that. So that's a big one.
I feel like the conversation about boundaries versus saying yes is sometimes really, it's a fine line, because we've talked about knowing this was not a great fit and I won't do this again, but saying yes sometimes leads to things that we have no idea are coming. So I feel a little vague sometimes when I'm talking to people about that, because I think I think sometimes you just have a feeling like I should say yes to this. I don't know quite what I'm doing, or I don't know quite what this is about, but something about it feels good, or feels like there's something potentially exciting or an adventure or whatever it happens to be. I love that. I
agree.
Really would like to read that book.
And then the third one I would just say is the brand story book. I'm trying to think of who that is. That is Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand.
I've read the book, and yet his name would still not come out of my mouth. Okay.
Yes. So I read the first version. It looks like he has a 2.0 out there, but that's what it was really like. You have to, that clarity is important. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of do Nicole Bedard photo video to make it very clear what I offer, but then dive deeper on the website of like who I serve. And those three, I think, have really been something I recently read to when as kind of hits all those kind of pivot moments of my journey, those three books.
I love that. The pivot journey. I like that. So you use a lot of technology in your business.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite technology? What about technology excites you?
So my favorite software that I probably use in my business is Canva. I've been using it for 10 years. And the years or the life before Canva was a struggle. Trying to create anything with specific aspect ratios and sizing, to do that in Photoshop was such a monster. It was so tough. So to have Canva, it was like, this makes life so much easier. And I know there's some people that are anti-Canva and they might be more the graphic design, like they have learned how to do it in the Adobe land, like way back when. And I get that. But for people that are solopreneurs that are running their business that need efficiency and speed. Canva is probably my number one thing I probably use every day, to especially making all my social media graphics, any sort of presentations, email stuff I can use, blog thumbnails for YouTube, and it really makes it life easier.
I feel like every time I open Canva or have a conversation with someone about it, I'm like, you can do that in Canva. I've been using it for a while. I pay for the pro version.
Yeah.
I know I have barely touched some of the things that it can do,
Yeah.
but and I will put a link to your YouTube channel because you showed how to do something and I literally was just sitting. I'm watching your video and I have Canva open. I'm going, I had no idea. I had no idea, and I probably have Canva open 3 to 5 times a week and
Okay.
yet had no idea that I could do some of the things that you were showing. So I definitely
Okay.
want people to follow you on
Amazing.
YouTube because
Okay.
I learned a lot from that.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. I've been like planning out a possible Canva mini, like little course. So maybe that.
Sign me up.
Okay. It'd be like Canva for creative business owners.
Yeah, because so I work with my web team helps me with a lot of different things. They're a small business and they're a group I can reach out to and say, I know this isn't about my website, but do you? And they're actually the ones that helped me move my digital magazine from another platform to Canva. And
wow.
I paid them to give me tutorials and show me
Yeah.
how to do it. And there are simple things like we wanted to change the color and she said, okay, go down to the bottom and say change all pages. I'm like, what? I had no idea it was that easy. And that's when I think I really need just a class that I can take that teaches me how to do these things because there's so much in it. I feel like I can't even touch it half the time.
Yeah. And that's why, like, even when I leave from a brand session, I want my creative clients to continue the momentum, even if it's on their phone. So that's why I know many have always asked me questions on, like, for my behind the scenes, many times I'm just setting up my phone and doing a time lapse. Right. And after a few times when people have mentioned they didn't know that there was a time lapse feature on the phone, I thought to myself, okay, maybe I should just do a basic, these are some fundamental pieces of content that you can capture in your everyday studio life. So I put that together for the capture content course. And just to run through just those fundamental things that you could be doing every day in your studio and then leveraging that alongside any professional stuff that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like there are, again, parallels. You started out as a professional photographer and you are doing that, but you are also teaching people what they can do with their own cameras or phones or whatever they're using. And there are people within our industry who have taught people who are DIYers and are really only interested in doing things for their own home and they learn from them. But then sometimes people step into that and say, oh, this is a career.
Yeah.
and it's when we don't, I really hate that term gatekeeping. You see it all the time on social media when they want to sell you something, but holding on to the information. And I love that you're hearing what people are saying, oh, I could teach them how to do that. Like that just helps us all. And I think that's
amazing. And part of it is like sometimes I think, oh, you didn't know that? Like, because I knew it, it was like, I assume everyone knows it. And even I was shocked. I was with a photographer and she did not know that there was a time. She's like, oh, how are you doing that? And I was like, wait, you don't know? Like, if you don't know, there has to be more people.
Yes.
More people need to know about this.
Yes. So I always ask this question. It should be pretty different for you, but what 3 business items could you not live without?
Minus the camera equipment and
Which
all
is
of that.
so obvious.
Yes. So, I mean, my laptop because I'm doing all my editing with video, photos, all my management of clients, like invoices, all of those tech pieces could not live without. The iPad, of course, could not live without. And probably my small little tripod that I travel around to get my behind the scenes.
Which I have.
Yeah.
Do you ever take photos just for fun? Do you ever just take your camera and go have an adventure with it?
I need to do it more. I used to do it more in the beginning. I feel like probably because I was always practicing and always fine tuning my eye. And obviously, when you have a little one, like, I mean, he probably had a good 100,000 images in the first year. So, I need to do it more often. I do rely on the phones are really good.
Yeah.
So, but I need to do it more.
Okay. And I always ask people that about sewing, especially those of us who got into it because it was something that we enjoyed doing.
Yes.
Sometimes we lose that when we make our hobby our business.
Yes.
Nicole, what's your favorite kind of photo shoot experience?
My favorite experience is walking into someone's creative space, seeing all the different tools, all the different materials, and knowing that we are going to be diving in and creating such like impactful visuals for their business, and they're excited. They're happy to be in the process. I know not everyone wants to be happy of being in front of the camera, but they know that they need it, and they get excited about showing their process. And so then I can capture it and we can get into really the process piece is like my favorite thing to capture. And then not only do they understand that they need it for their business, but then they use it after. They maximize and leverage what we've created. That's like the home run.
Okay. All right. I love that. What do you do extremely well?
I hope. I want to make someone feel comfortable in front of the camera. That is my main mission.
Okay.
Because if I can accomplish that, then the images are going to be that much better.
Yeah.
So my client experience for someone, I've worked on it for years, and I feel like I really have mastered.
I love that.
And still
I feel
building,
like you're being
but
modest now.
yeah.
But all you have to do is look at your work and you see people relax and they are just watching someone make a lampshade or work at their work table. It means that they've relaxed in front of you. So yes, you've done a good job of making them, taking them outside of themselves, and they're not focused on what they look like. They're focused on what they're doing. Okay. What do you not do so well?
I could be better at being more proactive in future clients and better instead of being reactive, going back to the trying to, saying no to something that might not be in best, aligned. Okay. I could improve on seeking out opportunities and building that way.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What about you would surprise people?
I think what always surprises people is when I was in photography school and working, I always just say, oh, I worked for the government, but I was an intelligence analyst for the government.
Do you have to kill me now that you told me that?
No. So that, unique position.
Yeah.
One, it really helps me with my research when I have to do research for things, because I really could dive deep and find information that I need. But like, I always like saying like, oh, I was an intelligence analyst is always like, wait, what? Because like at the time I'm in photography school trying to pursue this more creative life. And I could not be in a more opposite position in a cubicle, slowly dying.
You're right. I think that would surprise a lot of people.
Yes.
What do you like or enjoy most about your business?
I love the people.
Okay.
I love meeting all the different creatives. I love learning about their business. I love hearing their journey and how they're pivoting, or what their next move is, or how long a project took, or it's just the people I love it.
Okay. What do you like least about it?
Well, the difficult people. It's hard on the body.
Yeah.
It's carrying up gear if I don't have an elevator. It's like, I know many photographers, especially going back to like weddings, you're doing it for 8 hours, 10 hours, 4. I protect my clients' creative energy level and my creative energy level. Like once we go past the 2.5, getting to 3 hours, everyone starts getting tired. It does not help the session if you're going. Now, there are times if there's multiple locations, it may have to stretch out, but it's physically demanding. But because I am so into what's happening in the process and creating the visuals, it's just as exhausting as if someone is creating this piece, like all the creative energy that goes into the creation. You can't sustain that for so many hours.
Right.
So I know that is, being 15 plus years into this, I feel it the next day. Because when I look back at all those time lapses, I'm like, no wonder I'm in a squat. I'm climbing a ladder. I'm like on the ground. Like, so it's like
how physical it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's funny. A friend of mine just hired a photographer, friend of my husband's, to do a family portrait. Her and her husband, their boys, their wives, their babies. And we were talking about how difficult young children can be in a family photo shoot, and how wonderful our friend Kara is with all of that. But she has a time limit, and she knows if she doesn't get what she needs within a certain amount of time, those babies are just going to unravel. It's just not okay, and nothing is going to make it better. But again, the physicality of it, of getting her equipment onto the beach and making sure everything, it's a lot. It really is. And that equipment's heavy.
Oh, so heavy. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything you wish you had known or done earlier in your business?
I wish I would have networked more.
Okay.
Because when I moved to a new place and did not know anyone. It was really hard to find new people. It wasn't, and honestly, when my son started going to school is when I started meeting people.
Right.
And then once I started working locally and meeting people, like the referrals started happening and the repeat business started happening. But really for my business, going out and networking a little bit more, I think would have helped me a lot. But I'm inherently an introvert. So it's like, that's so hard too. It's like, but I really I reaped so many benefits from networking and meeting people outside of what I do. They don't have to be like in the industry, just meeting other like small business owners. And it just, we all have similar, growing pains. So it's like you can,
struggles are the same.
Yeah. So that I wish I probably kicked off sooner rather than later.
Nicole, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years, I really want to still be working with creatives, but I hope that my speaking side of my business has me possibly traveling more. I would love to expand over into Europe or overseas for both branding and speaking. And I really want to, speaking of all the physicality and all the stuff with the job, like that would be speaking and building those online resources for people is where I would want to build up.
Okay. All right. That's fascinating. I love that. So I will put links. I know that you're on Instagram. I know you have a YouTube channel and your website. I'll put links for all of that in the show notes. Are you on Facebook as well?
I am on it, but I'm not really active on
Okay.
there.
All right.
Yeah.
Then I'll skip that and use the Instagram account.
Yeah.
So Nicole, I could keep talking to you all
I know. This is a great conversation.
But I want to ask you the final question. And you have courses, your Instagram account, your YouTube channel. You really are sharing a lot of great advice to people on a day-to-day basis about what content they should be sharing and how they should be sharing it. But if you were meeting someone new in a creative business or even someone who's been in business for a while, what advice would you want them to have?
To show up in their content before they are ready.
Oh, ouch. Ouch, Nicole.
I know. No one's going to like that answer. As soon as I showed up in my content, for the longest time, I never did. I just thought I'm going to show the results of this photo shoot and someone's going to hire me. Well, or you show pillows or lampshade that you made, someone's going to reach out. And many times it's just crickets. No one's reaching out. But as soon as I started showing up in my content, and showing the behind the scenes of what I do to kind of demystify what a shoot is, since that's something that people, they think you have to be this big brand or big business with a marketing agency. It's like, no, you can have that too, and you should. That was a major move, I think. Not realizing the impact, seeing it now, because it's almost like a filter, and especially if you're in an industry that's oversaturated, people are going to connect with people. So that's the deciding factor why they may choose you over the other person down the road. If they see you, they like your vibe, what you're saying, you're out there showing up, even in the beginning, if it's just your portrait, to show up early and make that connection so people know that there's a human behind the business will definitely in today's day, if you're starting out now, that's the first move.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, even though it hurts. I know I have to do it. What is it? The truth hurts? Yes, it does.
Yes.
Nicole, this has been an absolute pleasure for me. Anytime I've been in your company, whether it's taken your class or for the Circle Time video, I've just learned so much from you and really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. This has been great.
Good. I'm glad. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Nicole today. I love the comparisons of our two industries. And I truly do love how Nicole has educated herself about some of the terms and the things in our industry. She's worked with a number of people. I've seen her photography in different workrooms. And I love that there were so many connections between running her creative business as well as us running our businesses. I also love that, like so many of us, working with a client is part of what she enjoys the most. It would be interesting to think about us sharing the work ongoing with some of our clients. That might not be so easy as it is with photography. But I know a lot of us will reach out to designers while we're working and show a clip and say, oh, here's how this pleat looks. Here's how this looks. And I mean, I know my designers then know I'm working on their project, and it gives them some comfort and some confidence about the work moving forward. So I guess it really isn't all that different. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Nicole today. I loved how many connections there were between our two industries. I love that Nicole has learned so much about the different creative industries that she's been connected to through her work, and that she takes the time to learn about the tools as well as the processes that we all go through in our businesses. It's been really fascinating for me to watch her over the last year, almost year that I've gotten to know her, and just seeing what she's done for our industry and for other creatives. So I hope that it was an enjoyable experience for you to hear from her today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.